So tonight, I'm going to teach you guys how to do a crow's foot texture. If your wall looks like this, it's possibly crow's foot. And the way that you can do a crow's foot texture is, first of all, you're going to need some +3 sheetrock mud. You can use other mud as well. You're going to mix this mud with water, probably like maybe an 8-to-2 ratio. The mud will be kind of fluidy depending on how you want your crow's foot to actually look. If you want it to be really crisp like that and thick, you'll make it thicker. If you want it to be a thin, sloppy kind of look, then you'll make this thinner. See, mine is kind of like a Jello maybe. Look. Basically, what you'll do is you'll dip your crow's foot brush. Now, if you don't have a crow's foot brush, it should look something like this. It'll open up. It'll have a piece of wood on the back of it. And that's a crow's foot brush. So you'll dip your crow's foot brush down in the mud. And you'll bring your crow's foot brush right up here to the wall, like this. And basically, you're gonna rub around the mud like that. And then you're just gonna splat it. You're basically just splatting the mud with your crow's foot brush. And there you go. You've got crow's foot texture. Now there's lots of different textures that people use with crow's foot. This right next to here is what I'm trying to match. And this, it looks like a crow's foot drag. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a flat, about a 1 foot mudding blade, and then we'll just slightly run it over the top of that. And we will have our crow's foot drag texture. So now we have our sheetrock trowel. And basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to flatten it out and make it look just like that over on this side. I'm gonna take my trowel down here at the bottom. And you're just gonna skim it lightly. Now we've already let this dry a tad because I didn't want to skim it I didn't want it to be so wet that, I couldn't manipulate it a little bit. So we let it dry. It's really wet outside. So we let this dry up for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But if it's hot and dry, you may let it dry less than that. And you can see, if you need that texture, you can just do it real lightly. But see, ours is a little bit bigger than that. And so we're gonna drag it a little more. And you can see how it drags out perfectly and looks almost identical. So that's what crow's foot drag looks like. And both of those textures are somewhat common in the 60s and 70s. And you can see that all the way over. And you can see it just blends right in there. It looks beautiful. So there it is. We're done, and you can barely even tell the difference between the old and the new. And that's how you do the crow's foot drag. You're going to need some mixing tools. You're going to need a drill to mix up your mud with your water. You're going to need a mudding mixer to mix up the mud. And let me go show you that real quick. You need a big mixer like this, and then you're going to need your mixing mudder. You're going to need a bucket of water so that you can put your mixture in when you're mudding. And you need another bucket that you can mix together your mud that you take out of your faucet. And don't worry about these little tiny lines. You can always sand those off at the end if you got a few little tiny lines. Now this crow's foot texture up here is a little different than what we were doing in the other room. You can see it's a lot thicker. But at the very tip of all the crow's foot, you see it's a little bit flat. So we're trying to match this with that. So basically you're gonna have the same mud mixture, maybe a little bit thicker, but about the same. Just put a lot of it on there. And just like you did before, go ahead and smear it on there. Smear it on there. Get it rubbed in decent. And then just kind of go up, and then right before that dries, you're gonna skim the chip coat of it, and it'll flatten it out just like that is beside it. So there's how you would match that.